voiceover begins. Slow, gravelly, like a breath through dust. They dropped him before dawn. Not a sound. No birds. No wind. Just the kind of silence that comes when nature knows something unnatural is near. The mission? Recovery. Extraction. Minimal contact. But nothing about this place was ever minimal. The forest canopy was 1,000 feet high. Wet. Breathing. Alive. Light pierced it like lances through cathedral glass. And below that stained glow was rot, bones, fungus that pulsed like veins, and something else, something watching. The team moved like shadows. 6 soldiers, 1 tracker, 1 boy. The boy wasn't supposed to be there, but they needed him, needed what he'd seen, because 15 hours ago, an entire recon unit was erased off the map, torn apart, but not just killed, eaten. It wasn't war, not politics, not even insurgents. It was something worse, something older, something with teeth longer than your forearm, and eyes that glowed like molten amber under starlight. They called it Apex, a class of predator so rare it only showed up on extinction lists, not field reports. Until now, the boy's voice barely a whisper. It didn't kill me. They didn't believe him. Couldn't, but he'd walked out alone. No wounds, no blood on him, except what wasn't his. He led them through the underbrush to a hollow burned into the earth, like something huge had fallen, cratered, charred, smelled of ozone and pain. And at the center was a pile of meat that used to be a soldier, half-eaten, spine ripped out, helmet crushed like paper. Then they heard it, a breath, deep, wet, guttural, the kind that doesn't belong to prey. And from the shadows behind the boy, it emerged, taller than a horse, longer than a truck, fur black as obsidian, rippling over muscle like shifting plates of armor. The apex, it limped, one leg dragging, ribs gashed open, still bleeding like something had fought back. But it wasn't scared. It wasn't running. It was looking at the boy. Stay down. Guns cocked, lasers locked, finger on the trigger. But the boy, he stepped forward, opened a tin, meat, cooked, still steaming from a ration pack, held it up like an offering to a god he shouldn't believe in. He's hungry, the boy said. The soldiers screamed at him. One fired a warning shot, but it didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't snarl. It just took the food. And when it touched the boy's hand, it licked his palm and lay down. Silence again. But this time it wasn't fear. It was disbelief. One soldier whispered, "That thing's not a beast. It's his." And then the tracker dropped his rifle, backed up, eyes wide, voice shaking. "You fed it. You bond with it." But the boy, he didn't answer, because the apex was watching again. Not them, him. And for one long second, the forest didn't breathe. And I realized the same terrible truth. This wasn't about survival anymore. It was loyalty. Suddenly, a branch snapped. Then another, heavy, pounding. Dozens, all around them. The boy turned, his voice low, trembling. "They're here." And in the distance, amber eyes, dozens of them, circling, closing in. The apex rose, not afraid, but ready. Its eyes met the boy's, and it growled once, a sound more like thunder than threat. The soldiers raised their weapons, but it was too late. The hunt had begun. Again, the voice returns, deeper now, urgent, faster, every sentence cutting like breath through cold steel. They came from the trees, low, Fast, silent. You didn't hear them until your throat was already gone. But they weren't coming for the boy, they were coming for him. The apex, a rival pack. Scouts said they were extinct. Biologists called them relics. The command called them ghosts. But there they were, fur like matted rust, teeth broken and jagged from centuries of killing, eyes like dying stars. And they were hunting royalty. The apex was no rogue. He was something more. He was once a king. And kings always have enemies. Gunfire erupted. Muzzle flashes sliced through the mist like strobe lightning. Screams. Metal. Bone shattering. 2 soldiers gone in the first 5 seconds. One pulled backward into the canopy, so fast. His scream never made it to the ground. But the apex didn't flinch, didn't run. He moved through the chaos like a storm wrapped in muscle. Every bite fatal. Every movement poetry and violence. And right behind him, the boy. He moved with purpose, dodging debris, sliding beneath claw swipes. Not scared, focused. The tracker grabbed him. Kid, we have to move. But the boy shoved him off, eyes locked on the apex. And then he whistled, short, sharp, 3 tones. The beast stopped, turned, and snarled, not at the boy, at the pack. The tracker stepped back. You trained it. Jesus Christ, you trained it. But it wasn't training. It was something older, deeper, bonding. This wasn't predator and prey, not master and servant. This was symbiosis, born from pain, sealed in blood. The rest of the unit was falling back, 3 remaining, bleeding, scattered, and the enemy wasn't slowing. They circled now, cutting off escape, driving them toward a gorge they hadn't seen on the map, too wide to jump, too deep to survive. Trap. We're boxed in. Fall back. Fall back. But the boy didn't move. He knelt beside the apex, hands on its wounds, eyes closed, breathing together, 1 heartbeat, 1 rhythm. Then he spoke. He's not done. The apex rose again, bleeding, barely standing. But something behind his eyes had changed. It wasn't survival now. It was vengeance. He stepped forward, slow, powerful, and let out a sound that made the trees bend. Not a roar, a command. Everything stopped, even the wind, even the enemy. Then it charged, not blindly, not desperate, strategic. The boy followed, not with a weapon, with purpose. He knew the terrain, knew the lines. He'd studied this jungle like scripture. There's a deadfall up ahead, he shouted. We drive them into the ravine. Let the gorge do the rest. The apex didn't need orders. It just moved, like it had done this before, like it remembered being hunted and winning. Bodies hit the ground, fast. Claws tore through spines. Teeth sank through skulls. Every kill was clean, efficient, regal, and one by one, the enemy faltered, began to retreat. The remaining soldiers regrouped, eyes on the impossible. This child and this apex predator, fighting together, surviving together. They pushed forward, forced the pack back, until the last 6 reached the edge, right above the ravine. The ground was slick with moss and blood. All it took was 1 scream, 1 mistake, and the earth crumbled. The pack leader fell first. The others followed, tumbling into blackness, vanishing into the mist. And then, silence. For the second time that day, the forest was quiet. But this time not out of fear, out of respect. The apex limped to the boy, nuzzled him once, then collapsed, exhausted, breathing shallow, bleeding out. The boy dropped beside him, tore his shirt, pressed it to the wounds. "Stay with me. Don't go now, not now." The soldiers approached, stunned, weapons lowered. One whispered, "That thing should have killed us all." Another added, "So why didn't it?" And the tracker answered, voice low, "Because it doesn't follow instinct anymore. It follows him." Then, from behind the trees, a soft whirring sound. Not natural. Mechanical. Drones. They'd been watching, recording. The boy looked up, eyes furious, jaw tight. "They set us up. They sent us here for this." He stood slowly, covered in blood, chest rising and falling like war drums. And behind him, the apex stirred again, barely alive, but watching. They wanted to see if it could be controlled. They wanted to see what I'd do. Well, now they know. The camera blinked red, recording complete. Somewhere far above, a command center erupted in chatter, and one voice, cold as metal, "Initiate phase 2. The voice returns, slower, measured, laced with dread. Somewhere, beneath steel, beneath ice, beneath everything we call civilization, the real war had already begun. He sat alone in a glass room. No windows, no corners, no sound, just a hum, mechanical, constant, like breathing from something too big to see. The boy, older now, eyes hollow, hands bruised, hair matted with blood and dirt, but unbroken, because they wanted him to break. And he wouldn't. "Tell us how you controlled it. What did it respond to? What did you give it?" They asked, over and over, sometimes soft, sometimes loud, sometimes with fists, sometimes with lies. But he gave them nothing, because he knew something they didn't, something they couldn't program or predict. It wasn't control. It was trust, built in silence, forged in fire, paid for in flesh. But the apex was gone, or so they said. It didn't survive the extraction. Too much blood loss. You'll bond with new one. That word again. Bond. Like it could be manufactured. Like it could be replicated in a lab with wires and needles and cold fluorescent light. They didn't understand. You don't bond with something like that. You become it. He didn't scream. Didn't cry. He just sat. Waited. Because he didn't believe them. Not yet. But then they showed him the footage. A slab, a steel table, a body, still, black fur, eyes shut, chest not moving. And for the first time, he felt it, something inside, crack. His breath caught, just for a moment. Then the rage hit, not loud, not wild, cold, precise. The kind of fury you don't yell, the kind you use. They tried to sedate him. Didn't work. 3 guards broke ribs that day. But he didn't run. He wanted to stay, because now he had a new purpose. Burn it all down from the inside. 6 months passed. Maybe more. Time didn't mean much underground. They trained him. They studied him. They put him through hell. But what they didn't realize, he was studying them too. And the whole time, he held on to one thought, one truth, one feeling in his chest that never went quiet. The apex wasn't dead. Because every night, in his sleep, he heard it, that breath, that growl, faint, but there, a heartbeat that matched his, still alive, somewhere. Then one night, something changed. The lights went out. Sirens blared. Doors slammed shut. Panic in the walls. Guards running. Alarms screaming. Breach in Sector 9. Repeat. Subject Alpha is mobile. He froze. Blood rushing. Stomach hollow. Couldn't be. But then, the hallway outside his cell, boom. Steel tore, like it was paper in a firestorm. A shadow. Massive. Silhouetted in red emergency light. Eyes glowing. Amber. Not possible. Couldn't be. But there it was. Alive. Bleeding. Breathing. And looking straight at him. The apex. Not dead. Not captured. Not tamed. Returned. The doors didn't open. They exploded. Metal twisted. Glass shattered. And through it walked the storm. Behind him, chaos. Bodies. Sirens. The whole facility collapsing. He'd torn a hole through their empire just to get to one room. Just to get to him. They stared at each other. Seconds stretching like years. No words. None needed. The boy moved first. Ran. Straight into the beast's chest. And for a moment, the world stopped. 2 heartbeats. 1 rhythm. Again. Then the apex turned. Lowered its head. And the boy climbed on. Down the corridor. No hesitation. No fear. Just fury. Just fire. One by one, the systems failed. Cameras fried. Power down. Security blacked out. Nothing could stop them. Not anymore. They were past science now. Past nature. This was myth reborn. And the men in the control room? They finally understood. This wasn't their experiment. It never was. It was his pet. And now it was loose. The voice now fierce. Steady, like a prophecy unfolding in real time. They didn't escape. They rose. Through metal corridors. Through armed resistance. Through fire and steel and blood. Each level of the facility, a tomb. And the apex, a myth walking through its own legend. Above them, the surface. Above that, the satellite uplinks. The towers. The command bunker. And the last line of defense. They'd planned for everything, except this. Command issued the kill order. Terminate the asset. Use everything. They didn't whisper it. They screamed it, because control was gone, because fear had taken its place. Gunships were airborne in minutes. Turrets deployed. Kill drones online. And every eye locked on the boy and the monster beside him. But he wasn't running. He was guiding. Through the underground jungle of wires and dust, he fed coordinates, spoke only when needed, knew the layout better than the ones who built it, because he'd memorized it, because revenge doesn't need directions, only timing. Left corridor. Thermal sensors blind for 6 seconds. Go. Elevator shaft. 2 floors. No brakes. Trust me? And the apex did, not because it was commanded, but because it chose to. They hit the surface at dawn. Smoke rising. The skyline, once silver and towering, now fractured and burning. Alarms howled like wounded gods. Sirens over screams. And there, at the center, a launch tower, 50 meters high. The command nexus. The head of the snake. The boy pointed. There. That's where they kept the others. The apex's head twitched. Others? Yes. He wasn't the only one. They'd found more. Hunted more. Tamed. Broken. Caged. Apex-class predators from dead planets and forgotten moons. Modified. Muzzled. Bred to kneel. The boy's voice cracked. We end it now. And then, war. The final defense protocol kicked in. Heavy rounds. High-velocity rail fire. EMP nets. Didn't matter, because this wasn't a beast. This was vengeance. He moved like fire. Lava with teeth. Bullets hit, some sank in, but he didn't stop, didn't slow, because in his chest was purpose, and beside him, the only thing he'd ever protected, the only one who ever protected him. The boy ran to the side tower, wired in, fingers shaking over the console. He typed fast, faster, a passcode, a trigger phrase, then unlock. From underground, the cages opened. First a sound, low, ancient, then a roar, multiple, dozens, each deeper than the last. The apex stopped, turned, and saw them, one by one, stepping from the smoke, each wounded, each scarred, each royalty. They didn't attack. They didn't run. They bowed to him, because the jungle knows its king. Even if he's bled, even if he's caged, he's still king. And the boy, he didn't flinch, just whispered, "Take it back." And they did. The ground shook, steel fell, men screamed, towers collapsed. No survivors, only echoes, only fire. And when it was over, the boy stood at the edge of the crater, wind blowing ash across his face, the apex at his side, breathing heavy, bleeding, but victorious. He knelt, whispered something only it could hear, and the apex closed its eyes. Finally, peace. But it wasn't death. It was sleep, because even kings need rest, and this one had earned it. In the months that followed, the world changed. The footage leaked. The lies burned. The facility erased. No one could hide it anymore, what they'd done, what they'd tried to build, and who came to destroy it. The boy disappeared. No interviews, no parades, just gone. But sometimes, deep in the redwood forests, in the black jungles, at the edge of satellite vision, you see them, a silhouette, amber eyes, and beside it, a boy, now a man, still walking, still watching, still protecting the last wild things this world has left. And when they ask who he was, there's only one answer, only one name whispered by those who saw it. He fed a god, and it followed him